What is up, everybody? Today is Saturday, October the 28th, and we got 7 games on today's schedule. Some interesting games. We're going to break them all down, do our analysis, and come up with some winning picks. As usual, like I always say before we get started, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I do 2 videos daily, one with analysis and picks for every single game on the card, and another one with my best bet of the night. So make sure you are hooked up with the channel, subscribed, getting those notifications. And with that being said, let's get right into today's action, guys. Let's go. In our first game of the night, we got the Chicago Bulls making the trip to Detroit, take on the Pistons. The Bulls, 1.5 point road favorites. I had them favored by 1. Both teams have played 2 games so far. They've split. Detroit, 2 games on the road. 1 point loss to Miami, very good showing. And last night, a big win, a wire-to-wire to win against the Hornets. The Pistons look much improved. Monty Williams seems to be doing work with the Pistons. They're looking sharp. The Bulls got blown out in their first game to the Oklahoma City Thunder, a no contest. And last night looked like another loss was in the works. But they made this huge comeback at the end, forced the game to go into overtime. DeMar DeRozan could have finished it in regulation. He missed some crucial free throws. But at the end, they got the job done. Squeezed out a 1-point win against the Raptors. Tonight, the Bulls coming off an overtime game. Both teams are on a back-to-back, but Bulls needed overtime. This could play a factor in this game. I think the reason for this line also, the 1.5, a little low. I think if the Bulls didn't go to overtime, would probably be a little bit higher. To take note of, guys, from yesterday's game, the Bulls. Zach LaVine shot just 3 for 14. He did play 38 minutes, and he only scored 8 points. Didn't help that much. And what I saw in the injury report, he's listed as questionable. Looks like he's got a bit of a back issue. We got to monitor his situation, see if he's going to be in or out. Very important player, obviously, especially on a second night of a back-to-back. What am I going to do in this game, guys? I'm going to take the Bulls here, but I'm going to take them in the first half with the -0.5. I think the momentum could carry over. The excitement from the win yesterday could carry over. And they could come out strong. But the Pistons, guys, they might take advantage of the Bulls' tired legs towards the end, squeeze out a W at the end. I'm not really quite there yet on the Pistons. I want to see a little bit more. This is just the start of the regular season. I'm going to go with Chicago with a bet in the first half, 0.5 point, Chicago to take the first half. Up next, we got the New York Knicks making the short trip from Atlanta, where they were last night, to take on the Pelicans in New Orleans today. The Pelicans, 3.5 point home favorites. I had them favored by 4.5. The Pelicans, 1 game so far in this regular season. They were in Memphis. They got a big win. They took advantage of Memphis's injury woes, but they went in there and got the job done. Took a big lead in the first half, held it throughout. Didn't really get threatened throughout the course of that game. Very solid performance and win for the Pelicans. Zion was dunking all over the Grizzlies. Looked like the Zion of old, the human highlight film. That guy's just absolutely insane. An insane athlete. He scored 23 in that game. Brandon Ingram had a solid 19. CJ McCollum, 24, the big 3. They looked very sharp. Very, very sharp in their first game. The Knicks have split their first 2. A devastating loss in their first one at home against the Celtics. They had that game in the bag, even though they played like just absolute shit in that game. They were right in there. Shows how much of a quality team the Knicks have. They can play like crap, and they can still battle it out with the teams, like with the likes of the Celtics. Only lost by 4, but they had that game won. Last night, they went to Atlanta. They did not let that game slip out of their hands. They won that by 6. A wire-to-wire win to win, pretty much. Atlanta did make a move towards the end, but the Knicks staved them off. So far, 1-1 on the season. In this ballgame, guys, the Knicks, of course, are going to be on the second night of a back-to-back. Fatigue, I don't think is going to be an issue. This is just the 4th day of the regular season, guys. They haven't played much hoops. Plus, the Knicks, they're not really one of the older teams. They're decent in age, not too young, not too old. So I don't think fatigue is going to be an issue. I think they might even be able to carry on the momentum from the game yesterday and have a very solid performance tonight. As you can see here, I had this line estimated at 4.5. I think it's a little low. The Pelicans at 3.5. It should draw some public money. I kind of like the Knicks here. I think they're underrated in this ball game. I'm going to take them with the plus 3.5. I think they continue on from yesterday's game, yesterday's win, with momentum into today's game against the Pelicans. Let's see what happens. Knicks plus 3.5, my bet in this game. Up next, Memphis making the trip to the country's capital, take on the Wizards. Memphis 1.5 point road favorites. I had them favored by 2.5 in this game. The Grizzlies have started off their season 0-2, 2 losses at home. They lost 6 all season at home last year, guys. They lost their first 2, dropped their first 2 at home. Injuries taking their toll, and the suspension on John Morant, the team, of course. And they played against some very good competition. Defending champs last night, lost that game by 4. We're in it. We're very competitive. First game they lost to the Pelicans. The Pelicans also at full strength got Zion back. 2 very tough opponents. Dropped their first 2 games. The Wizards played 1 game so far. We're involved in a track meet in Indiana. Lost that game by 23 points. 263 points in that game, guys. Washington gave up 143 points to the Pacers. Madness. But entertaining. This is what people want to watch. High-scoring games, no defense. The Wizards provide that entertainment for the people. It won't result in too many wins, but they are entertaining. In this ballgame, guys, are going to be catching the Grizzlies on the second night of back-to-back. It is early in the season. I don't think Memphis is going to be too fatigued, but they're just going to keep going with their injury concerns. On the injury report, I see that Luke Kennard is listed as questionable. He was out with a concussion in last night's game. I don't know if he's going to be out of the protocols for this game. We'll keep an eye on his situation. If he plays, he's a very important player. He will definitely help them out. The Wizards are at full strength. Don't think it'll make that much of a difference. They are a very weak team, projected to be the worst team in the league this year. I think they will finish with the worst record in the league. But they can provide guys with a lot of opportunity, especially on the live betting. For those of you guys betting on the live, runs, the runs are crazy. If you can catch the tops and the bottoms, you can get some really nice middles. There's some really good money making opportunities with the Wizards. In this game, I think the difference in class is just absolutely enormous. The Grizzlies are a much better team, even with these players that they got out. And even though they are on the second night of back-to-back, I don't think fatigue is going to be an issue here. I'm going to take Memphis here with the -1.5. I'm going to keep it simple and take the Grizzlies here to win their first game of the season. Up next, Indiana is at Cleveland taking on the Cavs. The Cavs 3.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 4. Pacers, we just talked about them a little earlier when talking about the Wizards. In their first and only game of the season, they got a big blowout 23-point win against the Wizards at home. They scored 143 points, guys. 143 points. We know the Pacers are one of the top teams in the league. When they get it going, they can beat absolutely anybody. A very energetic team. Lively legs, like to get up and down the court. Solid coaching with Rick Carlisle. I really like the Pacers. When they're healthy and playing well, they can beat anybody. And you can see, guys, over here, it is reflected by this line, a very, very short line. We would have never seen a line like this last year when Cleveland and Indiana play, especially in Cleveland. This line would have been north of 7.5 points. We see how it's got adjusted right now. On the injury report, I see Tyrese Halliburton is listed as questionable. We're going to have to monitor his situation. It says an illness. Don't know if he's going to be in or out. We're going to have to see if he ends up playing. The Cavs are going to be on the second night of back-to-back. What a loss that they suffered yesterday. They've split their first 2. Their first one in Brooklyn. Donovan Mitchell hit a 3 with 10 seconds left. Got a W in that game. Yesterday, guys, they were up something like by 10 points with a minute and a half. I switched the game off. I'm like, all right, it's over. They completed the comeback. Next thing you know, Oklahoma City came all the way back and dealt the Cavs a blow. Devastating loss for Cleveland in last night's game. Donovan Mitchell went crazy. He scored 43, but he didn't get much help beyond that. Dean Wade came back. He missed the first game. He is expected to play in tonight's game. Darius Garland, big absentee from yesterday, the starting point guard. We see on the injury report, he's listed as questionable. Jarrett Allen is also listed as questionable for this game. I think the most important player for Cleveland, the anchor on defense, they really need his presence on the floor. They are a completely different team when he doesn't play. We'll see if he makes a surprise and comes up. So, in other words, guys, in this game, we have 3 very important players, Halliburton, Garland, and Allen, that we got to see what they're going to end up doing, if they're going to be playing or not. But if things play out like they are now, if Tyrese ends up playing and Garland and Allen, who missed the last games, are also out, I kind of like the Pacers here with the +3.5. I think that loss yesterday for Cleveland might drop the mood on the team a little bit. I think Indiana showed that they're playing lights out, that they're very capable of going in there doing the damage. I'm going to take the Pacers with the +3.5 in this game. Let's go. Up next, Philly at Toronto. The Philadelphia 76ers, 3.5-point road favorites. Currently, I have them favored by 4 in this game. The 76ers, one game so far in this regular season. They were in Milwaukee in a very, very competitive, entertaining game. Damian Lillard lit them up though, and they ended up losing that game by a point. They had their chances to win, guys, late in the game. They got up by something like 8 or 10, but Milwaukee made a late run, ended up stealing that game from the Sixers. Sixers without James Harden in that game, a lot of drama surrounding the Sixers still. James Harden reportedly tried to board the plane and they stopped him. They said, bro, you haven't worked out, you haven't practiced, and you just expect to show up and play. And he got left behind. The league is investigating why Harden was not allowed to play. Just an absolute shit show. The drama on that team is just never ending. The distraction with James Harden, they're going to have to deal with this and deal with it quick if they want to keep their hopes up for this season. In this game, guys, we see that I think this is priced in this number, the 3.5 points. I don't think the Sixers, especially this kind of situation, would have been favored by only 3.5. The Raptors, no slouches, of course. They've split their first two. They won their first one at home against the Timberwolves. Very nice win. Solid defense in that game, only gave up 94. Last night, they lost a tough one to the Bulls. They looked like they had that game wrapped up, but Chicago made a late run, ended up squeezing out the 1-point win. The Raptors, second night of a back-to-back. It was overtime last night, guys. They should be a little tired in this game. 76ers do have the advantage. To be honest, this line is a little short, though, guys. That does kind of trouble me a bit. Looks like the books are willing to take action with this short line. Does kind of have me thinking that a play on the Sixers could be square over here. I'm not willing to take this 3.5. Something in my gut tells me that something doesn't look right, but I just can't see them losing in this game, guys. I'm going to be taking them here with the money line. I'm going to pay that little extra juice to get the Sixers just to win this ball game. Can it lose? Of course, we've seen crazier things happen in the NBA, but I'm going to take my chances here with Philly and the money line. Harden listed as out. He's not going to be with the team, not playing again tonight. So that's the news from the injury front. Philadelphia with the money line. I'll take my shot over here just to win the game straight up, guys, or else this could be close. Too close for comfort to take the minus 3.5. Let's see what happens. Up next, the Miami Heat are in Minnesota taking on the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves 5-point home favorites currently. I had them favored by 6. Miami Heat have split their first two games. A 1-point win at home against the lowly Pistons. Almost lost that game. And last night we're in Boston Garden. Lost that game by 8. Last year's Eastern Conference Finals rematch. Miami Heat were competitive in that game. Actually got up by double digits early. But Boston came storming back. Took control of the game. At the end it got close. It could have gone either way. Just a couple of plays here and there. Miami could have gotten the win last night. They didn't. They dropped it, lost by 8. Tonight, they're going to be on the second night of a back-to-back. A tough spot for the Miami Heat. One of the older teams in the league. One of the toughest teams to handicap, guys. I've always had trouble handicapping the Miami Heat. What I do mostly in their games, guys, whenever logic looks like they should win, they don't. And whenever you expect them to lose, they end up winning. So we're going to keep that in mind when looking at this game, especially against a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves. Very inconsistent, guys, from last year. You never know what you're going to get with them. They're fully talented. One of the most talented teams in the league, and I do expect them to be there at the end in the playoffs. Competing, could go deep into the playoffs. But you just never know what you can get with Minnesota. In their first game of the season, they were in Toronto, stunk it up, absolutely just stunk it up. No other way to describe their performance. They only scored 94 points in that game. And look at some of these stats right here, guys. Here we go. Karl Anthony Towns, 8 for 25 from the floor. Anthony Edwards, 8 for 27. They shot just 34% in that game. 8 for 31 from 3. Just an absolute disaster. A terrible shooting night. You just never know what you're going to get with the Timberwolves. In this ball game, on the second night of back-to-back, should they be able to win and cover this 5-point spread? Yeah, they should. They absolutely should. And I think a lot of people will be thinking like this. But like I said, guys, the Miami Heat, a very unpredictable ball club. And they do the damage when you least expect them to, and they just lay an egg when you expect them to win. This is one of these spots where no one is going to expect them to win or do anything significant. I'm going to be taking them here with the +1.5. Pretty much mostly for the video. I will most likely be staying away from this game, but I had to pick a side. Just go with Miami and the +5, guys. Why not? And last but not least, we got the Utah Jazz in Phoenix taking on the Suns. The Suns currently 5.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 7. The Jazz, split their first 2 games of the year, both games at home. A blowout loss in their opener to the Sacramento Kings, a no contest. The Sacramento just ran them out of the building. Last night got a big win against the Clippers, a 2-point win. They got a lead early in the first half. In the second half, the Clippers made their move, but Utah managed to hold them off. Really, really nice win for the Jazz, 1-1 so far on the season. The Phoenix Suns also split their first 2, got a big win in their opener against the Warriors on the road. A very ugly ball game overall. But they got the win, a very tough place to win. Racked up a nice W over there. In the second game of their season, they were in LA taking on the Lakers. Looked like they were going to pick up their second win despite playing without Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. But the Lakers made a move towards the end of the game, won that game by 5. And here we are, the Suns 1-1 on the year. 5.5 points in this game. I had it estimated at 7. Of course, we have to check the injury report, see the status of Bradley Beal. He is listed as out for tonight. Devin Booker listed as doubtful, which means the chances are against him playing. He's got a toe injury. If he doesn't play, guys, of course, I think the reason for this 5.5 point line, as you can see, I had it at 7. If Devin Booker was playing, I think this line would have been north of that. But it's not. So the books, maybe they have some inside info, or they just go with what they got right now. 5.5 point line is where we are. The Utah Jazz, second night of a back-to-back. Guys, this is a young team. And every time I see a young team playing on the second night of back-to-back, I always think back to one of Paul George's podcasts where he talked about when he was a young player, he loved playing back-to-backs because he felt like he was getting his rhythm. And in the second game, got some wind, got rhythm, and most of the times could play a lot better. The Utah Jazz, this could be the case in this game, guys, because they could take advantage of the players missing, Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. We know the Suns are a very top-heavy team. With those 2 guys out, it'll be Kevin Durant and a bunch of other guys that did play very well against the Lakers, guys. I was surprised how well the rest of the supporting cast played. They played well. But the reason for this 5.5 point line, if Devin Booker doesn't play, guys, I kind of like the Jazz here with this plus 5.5. Of course, we got to monitor his situation. A very important player. My pick for the MVP this year. If he doesn't play, I think the Jazz have more than enough chances to win this ball game even straight up. Plus 5.5, though, is my pick in this game. And this is what I got for you guys today, and this 7-game schedule on this Saturday, the start of the first weekend in the NBA regular season. Some very interesting matchups. We broke each game down, did our analysis, got our picks, and we are ready to go. Guys, tread lightly. I've talked about this in my first couple of videos. Yesterday was a very rough night. Things did not go as planned. Had a bad night. These things happen, especially in this opening couple of weeks of the regular season. We do have to tread lightly. Personally, I'm doing quarter-sized bets until we get at least 5 games into the season. I suggest you guys do the same. Got to be able to see exactly what these teams are about, have some trends, have some data, have some information at our disposal before we make responsible decisions when we put our hard-earned money on the line. And this is what I got for you guys. I will be coming in with a second video as I do every day with my best bet of the day. We need more information, guys. The injury report, a lot of uncertainty like I already mentioned. We have to take note of that. Good luck, guys, on your picks. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next video. If not, I'll be back again tomorrow. Sunday, we have got some early games. The video will be up a little earlier tomorrow. I will see you then. Have a good one. Good luck once again, and enjoy your weekend. Later.